You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Craig Redler. You got to remember that song.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, we do. We get some folks in here, Craig, that don't remember that when they're obviously not as old as me. Because I pulled that out of the archives and said to Josh, we got to get this one. And
Clearly, those people are communists.
Okay,
Great song and a great show.
Great song, great show. Well, some of them are just young. I mean, it's
Young communists.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's great comedy. I love great comedy, and our world has gotten a little loony on comedy anymore. You can't have everybody's upset about comedy. I don't understand that thought, but let's move right along. We are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Let's see. Eat your Jell-O Day. Okay, I like Jell-O. I don't know. Maybe I like the whipped cream on top a little bit better. I don't know. Okay. I'll move right along. Moving on. National Pecan Pie Day. Isn't that like a holiday item around the fourth quarter of the year? I expect pecan. We got some weird things going on. I mean, we had Turkey Day in the middle of May, and that should be in November. Pecan Pie Day. I guess it's all a sales pitch.
Are Pecan Pie Day and Jell-O Day the same day?
Pecan pie and Jell-O the same day.
Oh, they should also celebrate like Diabetes Day on the same day.
Well, yeah, a little extra sugar, and Sugar Coma Day is the same day. Cow Appreciation Day. Now, some people say I look like a cow, but that's a whole different story. Although I'm going to share a picture later today. I find it humorous. One of my new favorite restaurants, Hickory and Spice. So they had beef ribs. And they make a beef rib that's outrageous, and it's massive. I mean, it's almost as big as a whole cow. But the concept here is, my wife and I shared it, couldn't even finish one beef rib. Big, it was huge and good. But the moral of the story is, I actually asked my dog trainer. I've got a 5.5-month-old puppy. I said, "Can I give the beef rib to the dog?" And he said, "Sure, why not? It's a very, very sturdy bone. So she's not going to have a problem with it." I gave it to her, and it's hysterical watching a 5.5-month-old dog trying to figure out what to do with this beef rib. So I'm going to share that picture later on. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv or our socials, go to Ron Siegel Radio on Facebook, Ron Siegel Radio on Facebook. Look at the markets. The Dow Jones is up 77 points. S&P 500 is down 0.02. NASDAQ is down 6. Oil down $7.61 a barrel. Are we seeing any price movement in gasoline, though? California, I guess we probably don't even want to talk about California gas prices. We're at 605. We were at 608. So we're down a few pennies. We're national average, $4.65.5. Josh is over there paying $5.38, laughing at us here in California. Jody's at $4.98.5. Lori's over in Louisiana, $4.21 a gallon. And again, in the formerly Golden State, we're paying $6.06 a gallon.
Ow!
Let's move on to the news and see what's going on. We're going to have the CPI, GDP coming out. So we're going to find out, are we in a recession? And it's funny when we watch and listen to people that maybe they don't know a whole lot about what they're talking about. So we've had the press secretary for the president. Well, I'm not sure which one doesn't know what they're talking about. Is it the press secretary or the president? I'm not sure which one, maybe both. But the press secretary comes out and is talking about GDP, planning on a tough report, and talking about the fact that it's backward looking. Really? Does that surprise anybody that when you're looking at what the GDP is and you're getting the first reading of it for the second quarter and you're getting that in the middle of July, that maybe it's backward looking and it's out of date? And amazing how long it took her to try and sell this to nobody who was buying it. Fascinating to me. Now, we're also watching what the inflation numbers are, and you're going to want to make sure you catch our Mortgage Minute, because I'm going to tell you about what's going on in inflation. Nobody else is sharing this, what I'm going to share with you at the beginning of the next segment. It's called a tease in radio. You have to stand by to hear that. But I want to share with you right now, because we're seeing this a lot. Yesterday, I showed you how we could roll back interest rates on a purchase of an $875,000 house. That particular property is up in Alameda, California, or Oakland, California. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how do you save $1,378.22 on your monthly budget by spending absolutely nothing different than what you're doing right now. Absolutely nothing different, yet you can be almost $1,400 better off. So here's the issue, and this is a case study. And the case studies, when I do case studies, they're legitimate, because what I'm doing is I'm taking off the names to protect the innocent. And this is an actual family that we just did this scenario. Our team did this for over the weekend. It's got a property value of about probably about $800,000 right now. Currently has a $472,000 mortgage, but with all of his debts, he's spending $5,233 every single month because of certain debts that he's incurred. Now, if he does absolutely nothing, he gets to spend that same amount of money. And he just got his mortgage a half a year ago. So he's got 29 years, 6 months left on his mortgage. But here's the issue. You're looking at auto debt, and he's got a motorhome, I think it is, or a non-secured loan, credit card debt. So we're looking at a lot of different debts on here. Now, what happens if you do this in the strategic method of following what we're showing you at Ron Siegel Radio? Well, we take all of those debts. It's about $90,000 worth, and we roll them all in. Now, he had a 3.275 interest rate on his home loan. Sounds good, right? 3.275. We're going to put him into a new loan at 6.125. $563,000 loan, making the exact same payments, $5,233.29. Now, he could put that money into a savings account. Won't get him very much, but he could do that, right? We don't stop anybody at Ron Siegel Radio from doing whatever they want to do. But he could also take that exact same money and apply it to his existing mortgage. Now, what happens when he applies it to the new mortgage? What happens when he applies that $1,378.22 to his mortgage? Well, that 29.5-year mortgage is now paid off in 15 years. Think about that, being paid off that much quicker. Now, if we do it strategically and use some of the different tools that our friend Todd Halterman shares with us, he could actually cut a little bit more than another year off of those payments, 13.83 years. Think about that. Not spending one nickel, one penny more than what he's spending, and he can save almost 15 years on the mortgage payments by increasing, almost doubling his interest rate. Is the interest rate what's most important here? I'm going to suggest maybe the interest rate isn't as much as what's important. Now, he's going to go from his net worth is going to increase dramatically. We're going to see a lot of those things. His savings over 2 years, $34,000, $35,000, a lot of savings here. So what I want you to understand, and what I try to share all the time on our programs, is you need to talk to somebody who really understands the process, understands the industry. And I've shared with folks recently that over the last 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years, there's been people out there that have been out, they're order takers. They got into the mortgage industry because they said it's easy. We can do this. Anybody can be a mortgage consultant. But the problem is you're getting what you pay for. And that happens a lot of times is you get exactly what you pay for. You're not getting the benefits. So I'm just throwing these things out for you to give you an idea of where you can go by paying for advice that's maybe a little bit different than what you've thought of. You hear, well, I can't take and increase my interest rate, Ron. I'm at 3 1/8 or 3 1/4. But who cares if you're paying 7, 8, 9% is your blended household interest rate, your interest rate when you add everything together. That's what's really important. It's not important what you're paying on any one component of your household debt, your debt service. What's important is what's the whole picture look like. If you want to get a Borrow Smart analysis custom made for you, it's really simple. You just need to go to rsrbsa.com, rsrbsa.com. Give us some information. You don't need to give us any private information, personal information, although we can do a better job for you if we have some of that, a little bit of private information. We can do a little better job for you. But if you tell us, give us a most recent mortgage statement and the most recent copies of your credit card or your debt statements. Yes, I don't care. Redact the account numbers. I don't want them anyway. We'll need them eventually if you decide to do the right thing. I mean, if you decide to save money. Bottom line, give us a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Protecting your assets. We're going to talk about that today. Expert housing market forecasts for the second half of the year. Visit Anaheim. They've got some events for us. And when will this inflation stop? All of that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs. They've got the strategies like we talked about in the last segment. We'll call 800-306-1990. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the markets today. S&P 500 now up 2.77. Not saying a whole lot. It's not doing much of anything right there. 10-year Treasury down 7 basis points, 2.917. Yes, we do have an inverted yield curve. Means recession's on the way. Mortgage-backed securities are up 19 basis points, which means interest rates are down ever so slightly. And OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. OBMI tells us that yesterday interest rates locked at 5.808. Again, that's based on 35% market share. 5.808. 10-year jumbos locked at 5.319. FHA 5.615. In my opinion, the best loan on the market for those who earned it. That's the 30-year VA loan, 5.35. 10-year the USDA loan, rural areas, 5.573 right now. Remember, for the USDA loan, I don't think you have any down payment on that one, so don't worry about that when you're looking at it. But the question becomes, why are all of these things happening? What's driving this market? Well, the NFIB, that's the Small Business Optimism Index, decreased again below expectations. The small business owners are not excited. Wonder why that would be. Well, a lot of it has to do with inflation. What's going on in inflation and what can we expect? Let me give you a couple of highlights from that NFIB report. Plans to hire fell by 7 points. Expectations on a better economy continued to fall to an all-time low of down 61%. Those that expect higher sales plunged to negative 28%. Those that said it's a good time to expand fell 3% to 6%. Those that plan to increase capital spending fell 2 points. Those that plan to increase inventories declined by 3 points to negative 2. Relief was seen on pricing. Every one of the items are negative in here from the small business owners. What are they looking at that we don't see? Maybe we do see it and nobody wants to talk about it. So I'm going to tell you about these things real quick right now. First off, people say we can't go into a recession when unemployment is so low. Au contraire, we've got a chart if you're watching us on Ron Siegel Radio or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed. We've got an unemployment rate when we go into a recession. Unemployment is always at the very bottom of the chart, the bottom of the range when we start into a recession. Right now we're at 3.6. Well, if things start getting bad, do you think people are going to hire more people or lay people off? Pretty obvious. They lay them off. So when that starts turning around, that's recession. That's when we get that. We've got the deals in the housing market falling through right now. We're at almost 15% of the houses fell out of escrow in the month of June. That's according to Redfin. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. And a chart that no one's going to show you. When will inflation peak? So people don't want to talk about this. How do you figure out what inflation is? You're looking at what the current month is, and that replaces last year's same month. So last year for the month of June, we're going to be coming out with the June of 2022 shortly, and they're going to be looking and saying, okay, is inflation flat or is inflation going up or inflation going down? The key will be, is inflation reported at 0.9 or more? That'll tell us inflation went up. If it's 0.9 or less, inflation went down. If it's 0.9, inflation will be called the same. It'll be called flat. Why? Because last year in June, inflation was at 0.9% for the month. I'm going to guess that, and they're predicting that it's going to go up by 0.2%. That means inflation is going to be reported at 1.1, maybe. But think about this. May at 1, June at 1 or 1.1, whatever that is. What do you think July is going to be? If it just stays the same at 1 and it replaces a 0.5, then it's going to say July was hotter than inflation is going up even more. What about August? Do you think we're going to drop all the way back to 0.3? That's what August was in 2021. If that goes to 1, we could be over 10% inflation just by replacing numbers if they stay flat. Just throw that out there for you. That's the Mortgage Minute brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Now, thankfully, I don't have to talk anymore. Craig Redler is with us. He is an attorney, not giving legal advice here on Ron Siegel Radio. If you want to get legal advice from Craig, you're more than welcome. We'll give me a call at 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with Craig, and that's what he does for a living. That's how he supports his family, is by giving legal advice. Radio, we educate people. That's our focus here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that disclaimer because I always forget those.
Yeah, I try to remember it. Try to remember it because I know that we don't want anybody coming up and saying, well, Craig said, and even worse than saying Craig said, it would be Ron said, because I'm not a lawyer and I can't give legal advice. So
You wouldn't have the California Bar Association chasing you around either. So there's that.
exactly. Well, you got to do, I guess you got to do worse crimes to have the bar or a DA is chase you. But that's a different story. So let's talk about, I don't know, asset protection, because I know that's part of your world.
Asset protection is what I do. I basically take my clients and essentially the goal is to make them judgment proof or as difficult to sue as possible. So it's the sort of planning small business owners are really kind of the wheelhouse for this, because these are unfortunately the people that find themselves in court more often than regular people, for lack of a better term.
So let me ask you a question about that. Is it true, not that I'm an attorney asking questions like this, but will the adversary look up and see what the defendant's structure is before they file a lawsuit to see if they're going to make any money out of it or not?
If I'm the defense attorney, and I started my career as a defense-oriented litigator, and one of my clients had one of these plans in place, excuse me, I would educate the other side quickly. I would, if someone came into my office and handed me a summons and, hey, attorney, I just got handed this summons, and we go through it and it looks like they've got some exposure, then we talk about collectability. Plaintiffs' attorneys are always looking at two things. They're going to look at liability and collectability. And unfortunately, sometimes liability isn't even in the picture. We all know the nuisance suit, the ever famous nuisance
Sure.
suit. You may or may not be good for this, but I don't care. You're going to settle with me because it's cheaper to settle than to fight me. But liability and collectability in an ideal world is what they're looking at. But collectability is still going to be a thing. And if I'm a plaintiff's attorney and I'm going to spend months or years pursuing a claim, I certainly do not want to waste or spend my time chasing someone that I can't ultimately collect from. And most of these gentlemen are going to work on a contingency fee basis. That is to say, we don't get paid unless we collect for you. Who's going to want to do that? So back to my story, I'm talking to the defendant. I'm looking at his or her petition. And I realize that they've got exposure and that they have some kind of creditor protection structure in place. Yeah, I would educate the plaintiff's attorney immediately. I mean, like early, because that's success in my world, is getting these things settled quickly and cheaply. So I would send the plaintiff's attorney a copy of the plan or explain to him or her what it is. And they're probably not going to know at first. So maybe the conversation is going to go like this. My client has XYZ in place. When you can figure out what that is, give me a call. And I suspect 2 or 3 weeks later, the next call you're going to get, and it's going to be, all right, well, how can we get rid of this?
So I thought that's where the way the cases would work, because I chuckle. I mean, unfortunately, we get maybe I watch too much TV, but I've got it on in the background a lot, and I see all these personal injury attorneys, and one of them advertises that he has a 95% success rate. Now, to me, I look at it, and I'm not an attorney, but I sometimes play one on TV, but I look at it and I say, that means if he's got a 95% success rate and he's only taking the cases he thinks he's going to win.
100%. That's what they're doing.
Right. So that means 5% of the time he had no clue what he was doing. Right. He was clueless because, I mean, he's out there putting out his money, spending time, and ultimately lost.
Either that or he butted heads with the Craig Redler plan. So,
and even if that's the case, though, he might have known that up front, so he didn't take the case.
I would think if smart money would be to walk away from a case where the defendant's protected like this.
Yeah. So the bottom line is those, and those guys, I don't think they're. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I think most of them are probably looking more at dealing with wanting to get a settlement from an insurance company.
Yeah, 100%.
Than from a consumer.
Yep. And that's the other thing these do, by the way. If I hope anyone listening has not been sued, but if you ever have, typically you're going to pass it on to your insurance company, who's going to evaluate the claim, and then they're going to send you a letter back saying, all right, we're going to assume defense of this case and indemnify you up to the policy limit. However, there's always the risk that any eventual verdict will exceed the policy limit. Therefore, we would not discourage you from hiring your own lawyer. And then they prepare you in case, if you've got $1 million limit and the plaintiff wins 1.5 million or 2 million, you're on the hook for anything over and above. So another thing these policies will do, or these plans will do, In a scenario like that, you've got a $1 million limit and maybe the claim's got a good value of $2 million. Plaintiff's attorney will take the $1 million, understanding they're not going to get a penny over and above that, and that's where it ends.
So they settle those, and you're you're done because you've settled.
Yes. Yes, they understand that to pursue litigation, again, you do that whole dance. It could take months and probably years. And I'll ultimately walk away with nothing over and above whatever the policy limit was.
When we get back, I want to talk to you, Craig, about can I set this up? Do I have to set it up now, or is there a look back period, or when do I have to be making these kind of moves? We'll talk about that when we come back. We'll also chat a little bit, maybe a lot of it, about expert housing market forecast for the second half. And oh yes, Visit Anaheim. They've got some great stuff in store for us this weekend or this week. So always love looking at what Visit Anaheim is sending to us. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, RonSiegelRadio.com or Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily Home and Finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com. rsrhomescout.com. Expert housing market forecasts for the second half of the year. The housing market is at a turning point. And if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, that may leave you wondering, is it still a good time to buy a home? Should I make a move this year? To help answer those questions, let's turn to the experts for projections on what the second half of the year holds for residential real estate. Where mortgage rates will go depends on inflation. Well, one of the big questions on all buyers' minds is, where will mortgage rates go in the months ahead? No one has a crystal ball to know exactly what will happen in the future. What housing market experts know for sure is that the record low mortgage rates during the pandemic were an outlier, not the norm. This year, rates have climbed over 2% due to the Federal Reserve's response to rising inflation. If inflation continues to rise, it's likely that mortgage rates will respond. Greg McBride, chief financial analyst at Bankrate, explains it well. Quote, until inflation peaks, mortgage rates won't either. Without improvement on the inflation front, we don't know where the interest rate ceiling will be, unquote. Whether you're buying your first home or selling your current house to make a move, today's mortgage rate is an important factor to consider. When rates rise, they impact affordability and your purchasing power. That's why it's crucial to work with a team of professionals so you have expert advice to help you make an informed decision about your best move. The supply of homes for sale projected to continue increasing. This year, particularly this spring, the number of homes for sale has grown. That's partly due to more homeowners listing their houses, but also because higher mortgage rates have helped ease the intensity of buyer demand. Moderating buyer demand slows down the pace of home sales, which in turn helps inventory rise. Experts say that growth will continue. Recently, Realtor.com updated their 2022 inventory forecast. In the latest release, they increased their projections for inventory gains dramatically, going from a 0.3% increase at the beginning of the year to 15% jump by the end of the year. Whoa. More homes to choose from is great news if you're craving more options for your home search. Just know that there isn't a sudden surplus of inventory on the horizon. Housing supply is still low, so you'll need to partner with an agent to stay on top of what's available in your market and move fast when you find the one. It's not going to be easy to find a home, but it certainly won't be as difficult as it's been over the past 2 years. Home price forecasts call for ongoing appreciation due to the imbalance between the number of homes for sale and the number of buyers looking to make a purchase. The pandemic led to record-breaking increases in home prices. According to CoreLogic, home prices appreciated by 15% in 2021, and they've continued to rise this year. Even though housing supply is increasing today, there are still more buyers than there are homes for sale, and that's maintaining the upward pressure on home prices. That's why experts are not calling for prices to decline. Rather, they're forecasting they'll continue to climb just at a more moderate pace this year. On average, home prices projected to appreciate by 8.5% in 2022. If you're watching us again on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, you've got a chart of 7 different organizations giving their forecasts. Selma Hepp, Deputy Chief Economist at CoreLogic, explains why the housing market will see deceleration but not depreciation in prices. Quote, the current home price growth rate is unsustainable, and higher mortgage rates coupled with more inventory will lead to slower home price growth but unlikely declines in home prices, unquote. For current homeowners looking to sell, know your home's value isn't projected to fall, but waiting to make your purchase does mean your next home could cost more as home prices continue to appreciate. That's why, if you think about buying your first home or you're ready to make a move, it may make sense to do so now before prices climb higher. But rest assured, once you buy a home, that price appreciation will help grow the value of your investment. As always, I ask, so if you're looking to buy, sell, or borrow on real estate, can I count on you to give us a call? Any of your friends, family, or coworkers, not just you. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment, again, brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Continue our conversation this morning. Attorney Craig Redler is in the studio with me. We're chatting about asset protection. And we started the conversation last segment. If you missed it, shame on you, but you can go back and listen. RonSiegelRadio.com. The first tab on there is the archives. You'll find the shows there, posted about 6 in the afternoon every day. But Craig, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, when do I have to do this? Is it something that I have to be proactive on, or can I do it once I get that fund notice from the sheriff or process server?
You absolutely. It's like insurance in the respect that the planning has to be done in advance. You can't buy an insurance policy after you've had an auto accident and expect them to pay. So every state has their laws prohibiting, they call it fraudulent or avoidable transfers. So a fraudulent transfer would allow a court to claw back any property that you fund into one of these plans, and that's how you protect them, by funding. How you protect property has to be funded into a properly structured plan. It'll allow a court to claw it back in, and in some states there's even criminal implications of taking steps like that to avoid paying potential judgments.
So is there a look back period? So if I set that up, July 15th, is there a waiting period until it could actually work for me?
Depends on where you are. California, for instance, has pretty hyper aggressive, no surprise there, hyper aggressive rules against fraudulent and voidable transfers. So in California, potentially there is a look back period if they can prove, they being the plaintiff, can prove that you funded the plan specifically to avoid a claim. Most states are not that harsh in the respect that as long as the plan is funded before and a claim exists or you know about it, you're okay. Now, I typically am I'm gonna find a jurisdiction for you if it trust is involved. We'll put it in a jurisdiction that has friendlier voidable transfer laws. So I typically, if I'm doing it domestically, I'll use the state of Nevada, close to here. It's got very, very, very good trust laws. Or depending on how aggressive you want to be and the class of assets you have, sometimes we'll go offshore. I actually used to work in the Cook Islands, and that's the finest jurisdiction in the world for doing this. If a client has the right kind of assets and is willing to put the assets offshore, Cook Islands has a really, really, really friendly voidable transaction statute. It's got short timelines, and the standard for making an argument that something was transferred specifically to avoid a claim is really difficult.
So what jurisdiction takes control of something like that? Is it where the trust and assets are, or is it where the owner of the trust or the beneficiary lives?
Give you the attorney answer is it depends.
Ah,
So let's talk about doing domestic asset protection planning versus foreign.
okay.
And this is good illustration. If you are setting up in Nevada, okay, let's just take an asset that everybody has that we can all relate to, just plain cash. Cash is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to recovering for a judgment. I get a judgment against you. I can get what's called a writ of execution. I can walk into wherever you bank, hand it to that bank, and there's a couple procedural things, but essentially they're just going to hand me your money to satisfy the judgment. You put the nature of the trust that we use is to get technical. It is an irrevocable spendthrift grantor trust is what it is. State of California says straight up, irrevocable spendthrift grantor trust is not a creditor protection vehicle. State of Nevada says it is. Okay.
Okay.
So if we're in California, we try and set up one of those trusts, and I walk into your bank to take your money, where does that leave you? You're going to say, well, wait a minute, that money is not mine. It belongs to someone else, and it should not be used to satisfy a judgment against me. Just take any bank, a domestic Bank of America. Let's pick on them because they're horrible. You walk into Bank of America and I hand them a writ of execution and I try and take your money and you follow back and say, wait a minute, Bank of America, you can't pay him. That's not my money. Bank, it belongs to the XYZ trust. Now, Bank of America is not going to stick its neck out an inch for you. They're going to say, we're looking at a writ of execution. We're going to honor this. So where does that leave you? That leaves you in the unenviable position of going to the judge and saying, Judge, Craig's trying to execute this judgment and he's trying to take money that isn't mine. Well, the judge is going to ask you three questions. And it's, well, whose is it? Well, it belongs to the XYZ trust. Well, who set that up? I did. Who's the beneficiary? I am. And you can see where that's going to get you. It's not going to get you very far. In California, where the law is straight up, that doesn't protect you. That is not a creditor protection vehicle. Nevada, it is. But let's take the same scenario, but you set up a Nevada trust. Okay, and the same exact thing happens. But the lawsuit, let's talk about the lawsuit for a minute. It started with a tort you committed in California. You're a California resident. You committed the tort in California, breach of contract, whatever the claim is. The plaintiff is also in California. Plaintiff gets a judgment against you and goes over to Nevada and tries to execute the judgment against your Nevada trust. The same analysis. In Nevada, that argument, it's not mine, it belongs to the trust, arguably holds water. But under my scenario now, you're a Californian, what's going to happen? There's something under the U.S. Constitution called full faith and credit. Every state needs to recognize the judgments of every other state. So the Nevada judge is going to get into some kind of choice of law analysis. And how is that judge going to approach this? Well, he's going to go, all right, we got California resident, we got a California plaintiff, we got a California tort. Under that scenario, it seems like California's got a much greater interest in the resolution of this dispute than Nevada does. So let's apply California law. So while we do go to jurisdictions that are friendlier, it doesn't always help you. Let's take offshore. Okay, let's take the Cook Islands. The Cook Islands has this wonderful fraudulent transfer statute. We're going to put you in a bank that's overseas. It doesn't have an American branch. If you walk into that foreign bank with an American judgment, well, it's not registered in whatever country the bank is, they're going to ignore it. They're going to throw it in the trash. If you go and try and execute it against a Cook Island trustee, same thing. Under Cook Island law, they cannot recognize an American judgment or any foreign judgment for that matter. The only way to attack the trust is to go to the Cook Islands and make some kind of argument that there was a voidable transaction or a fraudulent transaction.
Is my money safe in the Cook Islands?
1,000%. It is. The industry is old. It's been around over 40 years. It's regulated. The regulators are real. They have teeth. I'm in the 15 years I've been doing this or so, I'm not aware of anybody that's lost their money to fraud or theft with a Cook Island trustee. The banks that we're typically going to use, the bank can be anywhere. It actually could be Bank of America. It could be anywhere, but we typically are going to recommend a bank that doesn't have an American branch. And we're usually looking to Switzerland or Asia. And the Swiss banks are just fundamentally great. they're better than American banks. The reserves they keep are higher. They're run better. They're just better banks.
Interesting. When we come back, I want to talk to Craig. What's the difference between the trust he's talking about and the trust all of us are setting up for our home? We'll talk to Craig about that when we come back. We've also got our Visit Anaheim segment, our On the Town segment brought to you by Visit Anaheim today. Reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. On the Town, brought to you by Visit Anaheim. Every week at this time, we get a major event of the week, a romantic event of the week, and a family event of the week. Brought to you by our friends over at Visit Anaheim. Our major event, downtown Anaheim, Midsummer Bash. Beat the heat and celebrate summer at Anaheim's Midsummer Bash from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, July 16th at the Center Street Promenade. Enjoy live performances. Try new foods and shop around for your summer essentials. This is an all ages free event. Last I saw it's supposed to be hot this weekend, so you're going to want to go find something to do out there. The Midsummer Bash. Romantic event of the week, One Love, a tribute to Bob Marley. Ooh. Enjoy some live reggae and stuffed potatoes at the One Love, a tribute to Bob Marley concert at the Stuffed Potato in the Anaheim Packing House on Saturday, July 16th, 7:30 p.m. Purchase your tickets and a stuffed potato specials at Eventbrite. Well, call me and I'll get you this because this is a long link. Family event of the week, Kids Con. I don't think we're talking about con jobs here. This is for kids. Kids Con is a 2-day destination experience event taking place at the Anaheim Convention Center. All right. July 15th to 17th, where kids get to bask in a dream world of fun and discovery, and most importantly, be themselves. The biggest names in kids' toys, apparel, and gadgets join forces to create a world of interactive play designed to ignite their imaginations and inspire creativity. Explore 100-plus vendors, brands, indulge in sweet treats, flavorful food, and more. You can purchase your tickets. Give us a call again, 800-306-1990. We'll put in the show notes the link for both of those events where you can get those tickets. I'm going to send these over to Josh right now so he can get these things into the show notes. And that is On the Town, brought to you by our friends at Visit Anaheim. Gotta love it every week, getting those three events for the week and knowing some fun things that we are able to do in and around Southern California.
I can't speak for anyone else, but my kids were pretty good at conning me.
Okay, there we go. Craig Redler is with us. We're chatting about asset protection, and Craig's been talking about these fancy trust things that I don't even know how to say them, no less how to use them. That's why we've got, again, Craig's not giving financial advice or legal advice. If you want that, call him. He'll help you with everything you need there. But from an educational standpoint, Craig, what's the difference between these asset protection trusts that you're talking about and the trust that I get when or I recommend when somebody's buying a new house?
And we're disclaimer, we're speaking in generalities, no
Yes.
specific advice here. The typical estate planning trust is called a revocable living trust. The revocable living trust is an excellent tool. Most people can benefit from having one. Their primary purpose is probate avoidance. Their secondary purpose is planning in the event of disability. So they're good to have in place because, God forbid it happens to anybody, but if someone finds themselves disabled to where they can't make a decision or sign their names, if you don't have that kind of planning in place, the family has got a major headache on its hands. So I would recommend that to even people that have relatively modest estates. And we do those, by the by. The general difference is is control. What separates a revocable trust from an irrevocable trust is control and revocability. So with the sort of trust I'm talking, and this is scary, people hear the term irrevocable and people don't like to do things that can't be undone. I would submit before I say another word that they are ultimately undoable. Anything we do, revocable or irrevocable, is ultimately undoable. It's just the steps you need to take. But
That's how to do it. You got to just get great advice for it.
You got it. So the basic estate planning trust is revocable, and it is a something where you serve as your own trustee. So you don't need to go to a third-party trustee. Most of the planning that I'm talking about, if it's trust-centered, and by the way, the trusts, be they domestic or offshore, are just one estate planning tool or one asset protection tool. It all depends on the asset. Obviously, when I talked about cash, you can pick up cash and move it to a Swiss bank account or a bank account in Asia. You can't unbolt your home and move it to a
Hard to do that.
Yeah. So we use different strategies for different asset classes. But back to your question, the trusts that I'm talking about here are by and large irrevocable, and you cannot serve as your own trustee. So you're dealing with a third-party trustee, which also sounds scary. So in order to do stuff, do I need to involve this trustee? And again, we can structure these things where you don't, but on their base level, yeah, you do. You can't just go to an ATM and take money out of one of these structures. You got to, dear trustee, will you please? And again, these are discretionary trusts, so they're not. You can't force or compel the trustee to do anything, which again sounds scary, but I would temper that with these trustees know their role here. They're not there to babysit you. We all know about the family that's got 3 kids and 2 of them are fine, but one's just kind of a ne'er-do-well, just kind of an idiot.
Sure.
And I love all my kids, but I've got this one that I just can't give money to. So I'm going to put his inheritance in a trust and instruct that trustee not to let this kid do anything dumb. Don't let him go kill himself. Don't let him take his friends to Las Vegas and go on a cocaine bender.
So we're doing that in Nevada Trust, but it's not for the purpose of going to gamble.
Correct. That's exactly right. And the trustees understand they're not protecting you from you. They're not protecting you from, or your family from themselves. They're protecting your family from hostile lawsuits, from creditors and predators. So knowing that, they're not going to deny any request that isn't explicitly prohibited in the trust. And the thing that we explicitly prohibit in every one of these trusts is making a payment under duress. So duress is when a court is ordering you to, as opposed to when you do it voluntarily. But aside from that, there are very few explicit restrictions. So the trustee is gonna follow almost any instruction. I will tell you again, I used to work at one of these trust companies, and they don't. They're not interested in managing you or your life. So, but on the off chance,
It's a good way of putting it, is that because that's the thing that you're always worried about is I'm going to put my money and give somebody else the authority to oversee my assets, and then they're not going to do what I want. They're going to do what they want.
well, and here's what we do. There's a role that I haven't discussed in most of these trusts. It's called a trust protector. So almost all these trusts, we will either start with a trust protector or we will leave the door open to appoint one later. And here in the trust protector, that concept goes way back to English common law. And the original purpose of the trust protector was just that, to protect the family from the trustee. So if the trustee decided I'm going to take all of this money I'm holding and go spend it on me, the trustee, you set up a stopgap. You set up this protector who has the authority not to make a decision, but can veto any transaction. So you put this trust protector between the trust and the bank. So even if a trust employee goes totally rogue and want to steal your money, which again, I worked at a trust company, there are internal protections against that. But hypothetically,
Sure.
a trust employee cannot go to the bank wherever you have your money and take it out and spend it on themselves, because what will happen is the trustee has to write an order to transfer money in and out of the account. That's how they get it. So, hey, Swiss Bank, transfer this money to this account here. And instead of the client's, it's mine. The bank's not going to do anything unless or until the protector signs off on the order.
So it's almost like having, for those us lay people, it's basically you've got two signatures on the check.
Yeah, exactly. And the protector isn't the trustee, and the trustee isn't the protector. So they have no affiliation. So if I'm the trustee and I want to steal your money, I have to first get it past the protector.
Got it.
But the reason I bring that up here, and the other thing that the trustee can do, or I'm sorry, the protector can do, we always give them the authority to remove the trustee and appoint a new trustee. So the protector has the authority to fire the trustee for any or no reason.
Okay.
So if you were to call your trustee and say, hey, trustee, will you please send me $50,000? I want to buy a new car. And the trustee were to hypothetically, which will never happen, but hypothetically come back and go, yeah, we like the car you have now. We're not doing that. You can say, well, that's too bad. You're fired. Protector, get rid of this guy.
Now, I know we're out of time. Josh is sitting there yelling at me, but is this only for the rich and famous, or is this something that a lay person could do some of these things?
There are different degrees of planning, and some of it can get expensive. And obviously you are going to need to have the resources to justify some of the fees. But there is planning for everybody. There's
Okay.
more basic stuff. And I will tell you, a lot of that depends on the attorney you use. Some attorneys are charging $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 for this. I don't charge that. So someone to plan with me and my more modest fees may not need the resources that that's going to go to an attorney that's going to charge them $100,000 to do it.
Great information. If you want to meet Craig or learn more from Craig Redler about how to do these things, give me a call, 800-306-1990. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.